Coffee Break German Season 3, Episode 27. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu Coffee Break German. Ich bin Marc.
Und ich bin Andrea.
Wie geht's dir, Andrea?
Mir geht es blendend, danke, Marc.
Dir geht es was?
Blendend.
Blendend? Was bedeutet blendend?
So gut, dass es blendet.
Ah, right. So good that
It's blinding.
It's blinding. Okay. That is a new one for me. So it's taken 3 seasons and 27 episodes to get to this part. But nonetheless, I'm very glad that you're blendent.
Ja, danke. Und wie geht es dir?
Mir geht's auch blendend.
Super.
So what's coming up in this episode today?
Today is a very exciting day.
Oh, okay.
Because we've reached the point where we can look at the Subjunctive 2, so the Konjunktiv 2.
Okay. I think I should perhaps have had a stronger coffee before we got started in this one.
You'll be fine. Some of it you've seen before. So
Okay.
we're going to take it slowly today and then move on in the next episode.
We can look forward to that. So as usual, we'll be talking about this grammar point, and then I'm imagining we're going to see it in a dialogue.
Well, more in a monologue, in a diary entry.
Okay, something different for today. That sounds good. Also, bist du bereit?
Ich bin bereit.
Los geht's.
So, as I said, today we will start looking at the Konjunktiv 2 or the Subjunctive 2. And we're going to look at some of the functions that this has, because it has many functions.
Okay.
For example, speaking in hypothesis or giving advice or making suggestions. So that's why we've seen it so often.
Yeah. Now, the idea of a subjunctive, obviously, I have studied some other languages. I'm familiar with the concept of the subjunctive. It's a special kind of verb that is used in particular situations. And we do have something similar in English. It's just not used that often.
That's correct. I think we will find this in many European languages. And it is always made of something that we already know as something else. So in German, we're using the imperfect tense and play around with that to turn it into a subjunctive.
Okay. So in English, we've got the situation, for example, if I were rich, very often we hear if I was rich now, but it should theoretically in correct English be if I were rich, using a subjunctive form, which we don't normally use.
Yes, that's correct. That's what I learned when I learned English at school. So in German, we've seen this very often, the wäre.
Yeah, of course. Uh-huh.
So we've seen this in several texts throughout our Coffee Break German journey.
Yeah, is that like hätte as well?
Ja, hätte und wäre. These are Konjunktiv 2 or Subjunctive 2. And that just shows us that we are using the imperfect tense. So we have war and then we make wäre, or we have hatte and we make hätte. So you see maybe a kind of pattern there.
Is the umlaut that's added there something that is regular in a sense?
Well, it depends on the verb.
Okay.
So not every verb has an umlaut. For example, if we look at schlafen, our imperfect tense for schlafen is schlief.
Okay.
Ja, schlief, schliefst und so weiter. So there is no space for an umlaut.
Yeah.
So there it would be wenn ich schliefe.
So if I were sleeping kind of thing.
Ja, genau.
Right. So you're taking schlief as the form of the imperfect or the preteritum.
Yes.
And then we're adding an ending to that. So you've added an E in there.
That's correct. Ja, so ich schliefe, du schliefest, sie, es schliefe, wir schliefen, ihr schliefet, sie schliefen.
Okay, so we're recognizing these endings. These seem to be pretty regular endings that we would expect. But it's the stem that's the interesting thing here.
Yes, so the vowel change that happens in the stem is probably what is the trickiest bit. Yeah, not the endings.
Mm-hmm.
And there you just need to throw yourself in there. And if you don't know, just take a wild guess.
Okay.
You might be.
Sounds good.
So that's basically, that was the issue that we had with, or the difficulty that we had with the imperfect tense is the difficulty that this presents, and then also when to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But we will have a lot of opportunity to discuss this.
Okay.
And then there are verbs that have an umlaut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we know the umlaut can only exist with A, U, and O. The other vowels can't have an umlaut.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a verb that we all know is wäre. Ja, so war, ich wäre, du wärest, er, sie, es wäre, wir wären, ihr wäret, sie wären.
Okay.
And then where we also see, we see very often the modal verbs in the conjunctive 2 because it adds politeness.
Okay.
Ja, so instead of kannst du das Fenster aufmachen, könntest du das Fenster aufmachen. So it adds politeness or non-commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what the conjunctive 2 does. So we have here können already has an umlaut, so that's simple. We don't need to add anything.
Okay.
So ich könnte, du könntest, and so on with the verb endings.
So what's the difference then between ich könnte as the subjunctive and did we not learn that as a kind of conditional?
Yes. We use the same tense
Mm-hmm.
to make conditional sentences or to use subjunctive.
Okay.
And I think what you will find is when German speakers learn English and they want to make an if sentence, they say, if I would have, I don't know, a big house,
Yeah.
I would have many parties. So this is a typical German speaker
Mistake.
Mistake,
Uh-huh.
because for us it's the same tense.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. But really, what we're looking at here is the same concept in a sense, or the same tense used in a different concept.
Yes. So we could call it the subjunctive or the conditional, but for us it's really the same thing.
Okay. Let's look at some other modal verbs.
So another interesting modal verb is wollen.
Mm-hmm.
And careful there's no umlaut. So it's ich wollte. So basically the same as in the imperfect. So wenn ich wollte, wenn du wolltest, wenn er sie es wollte, wenn wir wollten, wenn ihr wolltet, wenn sie wollten.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then we have müssen, which already has an umlaut, so no change there. Sollen, which doesn't get an umlaut, und dürfen already has an umlaut, so there is no change there to the imperfect.
Good.
Conjugation.
Andrea, I'm thinking about one word that we've learned way back at the very beginning of Coffee Break German, and that was ich möchte, as in I would like a cup of coffee. Ich möchte einen Kaffee.
Yes, very good. So you see, so ich möchte is one of the first things that people learn.
Uh-huh.
And you can see they're thrown in at the deep end because they start off their German learning curve with a subjunctive 2.
Okay, so this is a subjunctive.
Yes,
Wow,
absolutely.
Okay.
So it comes from the verb mögen,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, from like, yeah. And then we turn it into subjunctive 2 or a conditional, and it's would like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So ich möchte then is actually a subjunctive.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Ja. So möchtest du einen Kaffee? Nein, danke. Ich möchte lieber ein Glas Wasser. Ja, this is already very advanced German from a grammatical point of view.
Who knew? And actually, I think the cafe would probably help more than the glass of water to get on top of our subjunctives.
I know. But there is an easier way to make the subjunctive too.
I always like an easier way, so go
Yes.
for it.
And it's with using würde. Yeah, so then it is maybe more similar to the English.
Yeah, like would. The idea.
So would do, würde machen, ja, would go, würde gehen.
Uh-huh.
Ja. An example could be, ich würde meiner Mutter Blumen kaufen. Ja.
So I would buy my mother some flowers.
Ja, so for example, if I were you, wenn ich du wäre. Ja, wenn ich du wäre.
Okay, yeah.
Or if we ask for advice, würdest du an meiner Stelle den Job annehmen?
So would you take the job if you were me, if you were in my shoes?
Genau, das ist richtig.
Okay.
So this is quite straightforward. What we need to, but we look at this maybe in the next episode when we look at the wenn sentences. What is not so nice is if we have the würde, ja. Wenn ich ein großes Haus haben würde, würde ich eine Party feiern. It's correct, but it's not so pretty. But we can look at this once we have progressed a bit on this subject.
Okay, so we've looked at how you form the subjunctive. We've also looked at this way of avoiding, of forming it in a more easy way, if we can't remember those preteritums. What about why we use the subjunctive? You know, in what situations do we use the subjunctive in German?
So yeah, as I said at the start, there are many functions for this, yeah, and one of it would be to express wishes, okay, and we can do this again in different ways using the subjunctive. So one way is to use the subjunctive too of wünschen, yeah, to wish, yeah, and then we would say, ich wünschte, ich könnte besser stricken. That's actually true.
Okay, so stricken is to knit.
Yeah.
So I think you're saying, I wish that I were a better knitter.
Yes.
I could knit better.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So ich wünschte is subjunctive, and then ich könnte, another subjunctive there.
Yes, so ich wünschte, ich könnte besser stricken.
Okay.
Or Peter wünschte, seine Freundin würde endlich anrufen.
So Peter wishes his girlfriend would finally call.
Ja, genau.
I have a question here. This idea, because I'm looking at this Peter wünschte or ich wünschte, and it feels a little bit past in the sense because of the t ending, but it's not past.
No. This is just something that is maybe not so likely to happen.
Okay. So it's not meaning I wished that, or Peter wished that his girlfriend would call.
No. It's that he wishes it now.
Okay, that's good to know.
So again, we could do this in a way that we don't need to remember the subjunctive too of wünschen. Sabine würde sich wünschen, dass es weniger kalt wäre.
Right. So Sabine würde sich wünschen. It feels quite roundabout that. But it basically means she still wishes. She wishes,
yes.
Yeah. She wishes that it would be a little less cold.
Yes. So this is something that this würde wünschen, as you said, it's quite, it's quite long for such a simple function, actually.
Yeah.
So that is something that maybe my mother or my grandmother would use when they really think something should happen, but they want to put it politely.
Politely, okay. Give us an example then.
Ich würde mir wünschen, du würdest einen Ehemann finden. Ja?
So I wish you would find
a husband. Yeah, so they would put this in a way that it's just a wish, but really they demand it, okay, that it's happening.
Okay.
This was never said to me. I have to come to my mother's defense. So, and then we can also express wishes with möchten, as we saw before. So, for example, Franziska möchte ein Fahrrad zu Weihnachten.
So Franziska would like to have receive a bike for Christmas.
Genau. And then we have another way to express a wish with a subjunctive too, mit würde gern or würde gerne. Yeah, so gern oder gerne, that's really preferential. For example, meine Eltern würden gern oder gerne auf eine Kreuzfahrt gehen.
So my parents would really like to go on a cruise.
Genau.
Okay. So meine Eltern würden gern auf eine Kreuzfahrt gehen. Yes, so we've still got the gehen in there, but it's just the würden and gern in there.
Yes. And now we're coming to a slightly trickier way of expressing a wish. And it's with a wenn sentence. So it's we're saying if only. Yeah, you have this in English. Yeah, and I'll give you an example. Wenn Marianne doch nur schon hier wäre.
Okay. It sounds like a song or something like that. If only Marianne were already here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And the doch there.
Yes, so the doch adds to this. The doch is semantically meaningless, okay, but it adds to this idea that this is a wish. Yeah, we could make the sentence without doch, wenn Marianne nur schon hier wäre.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but the doch just underlines how much of a wish this is that might never be fulfilled.
Is this a little bit like the beginning of a conditional sentence that we've not really had an end to?
That's correct, yeah. So we could add, wenn Marianne nur schon hier wäre, könnten wir essen.
Yeah, so if only Marianne was here, then we could eat.
Yes, okay. So, but because we're not finishing this, it's a wish.
Mm-hmm.
I have another example. Wenn die Schokoriegel nur weniger kosten würden.
So wenn die Schokoriegel, is that chocolate bars?
Ja.
Nur weniger kosten würden. If only they cost less.
Ja, okay. So when we read a sentence like this, we can imagine someone going, ah. Ja.
So, wenn die Schokoriegel nur weniger kosten würden.
Genau, richtig. So now we're going to take it up just one tiny notch.
Oh dear, okay.
And we're looking at inversion. And I think you have something similar in English. So had she only kept her promise.
Ah, right. Okay, so we're taking she had, swapping it around, but it's got the same meaning as if only she had.
Yes.
Right, okay.
So I have here someone saying, wollten die Kinder doch nur mitkommen.
So if only the children had come along.
Wanted
to come along, yeah, okay.
Or sähen die Kekse nur nicht so lecker aus.
If only the biscuits didn't look so tasty.
Genau, das ist richtig.
Okay, so we've looked at this idea of how to express wishes using the subjunctive. Are there other uses of the subjunctive?
Yes, but not today.
That sounds great. We'll no doubt hear about them in future episodes.
Uh-huh.
But after the break, we'll be listening to a dialogue, and I'm sure we'll hear one or two wishes being expressed in this
correct.
dialogue.
In addition to the podcast version of Coffee Break German Season 3, we're also putting together a full course on the Coffee Break Academy, where you'll be able to access bonus materials to help you make even better progress with your German.
That's right. Not only will you be able to enjoy an ad-free audio version of each lesson, we'll also provide a bonus episode where Andrea will be testing us with some translation challenges based on the topic of each lesson. And of course, there are comprehensive notes and a video version of each lesson too. Visit coffeebreakgerman.com and follow the links for Season 3 there. So today we are finally tackling the subjunctive in German. Fantastic. It's going relatively well so far. I think I'm a little bit relieved. Yes,
I think this is one of the topics where the hype is so big surrounding it that people panic. But it's actually, I think it's manageable in chunks if we look at it step by step.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do now is listen to a diary entry. We've got Thomas reading this diary entry, and he is going to be wishing certain things. Is that the case?
Yes. So he's a young pupil.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So, and he has dreams and hopes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a listen.
Liebes Tagebuch, heute war wieder mal ein anstrengender Tag an der Schule. Wir hatten einen Mathe-Test und ich konnte es gar nicht. Wenn ich doch nur verstehen würde, wie man eine Gerade ausrechnet. Hätte ich doch nur einen Nachhilfelehrer, der mir alles erklären würde. Ich wünschte mir, dass ich in 2 Jahren an die Universität gehen könnte. Aber mit diesen Mathe-Noten schaffe ich das Abi nicht. Aber mein Tag war auch schön. Ich habe heute in der Pause mit Melanie gesprochen. Sie ist so toll. Ich würde ihr gerne sagen, dass ich in sie verliebt bin, aber ich traue mich nicht. Ich wünschte, sie würde mit mir zum Jahresball kommen, aber vielleicht würde sie lieber mit einem der anderen Jungs gehen. Wären meine Haare doch auch so schön wie die von Elias. Ich wünschte auch, ich könnte etwas besser tanzen. Meine Mutter sagte, dass wir morgen zusammen über den Familienurlaub sprechen. Ich möchte gern zelten gehen. Ich wünschte, wir gingen wieder mit dem Zug nach Italien auf den Zeltplatz. Das hat letztes Jahr so viel Spaß gemacht. Wohnten wir doch nur etwas weniger weit weg. Wir könnten viel öfter dorthin und jeden Tag das leckere Eis essen. Ich würde auch gern bald wieder etwas im Meer baden. So, jetzt muss ich aufhören zu schreiben. Es gibt Essen und danach würde ich gern meine Serie im Fernsehen schauen. Meine Mutter möchte aber, dass ich Hausaufgaben mache. Wenn doch die Schule endlich vorbei wäre. Liebe Grüße, Matthias.
I'm listening to this and it's reminding me of a book which everyone in the UK read as a teenager back in the 80s, The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4.
I have never heard of it, but I will ask my husband about it.
So you didn't have this in Switzerland?
No.
Well, it was very much a funny book for all teenagers back then. I remember it very well.
We had something else. It didn't include a diary, but it was it's really culturally quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a TV series and books of a young woman who was a ballerina.
Okay.
And then she had a back injury and then she had to relearn how to walk and dance. And obviously it included romance and adventure and everything. It was fantastic. I had all the books and obviously I saw all the series and the films. I saw everything about it. The book was called Anna.
Anna, yeah. I think I've got visions of watching something like this way back, but it would be dubbed into English. But yeah, it rings a bell. Definitely rings a bell.
Yeah, I think every generation has their coming of age story.
Indeed. Okay, let's not go through the whole diary entry at the moment because we're going to do that in our bonus episode. However, let's talk a little about what happened in the diary entry.
Yes, so there's Matthias, and he says he had a tiring day at school with a math test. And unfortunately, Matthias doesn't understand math so much, and he wishes he had a tutor.
Yeah, and the tutor would be able to explain everything to him. He's talking about his desire to go to university in 2 years' time, and I think he says something to do with the Abitur.
Yes, he worries that he won't be able to pass the Abitur exam and that he needs to enter university.
Okay. And I think something nice happened today.
That's right. So he also had a very good day because during break time, he spoke to Melanie.
Mm-hmm. And I think he likes Melanie, doesn't he?
Yes. And he would like to tell her, but he can't work up the courage.
I think he was talking about inviting her to the ball, the annual ball at school.
Yes, but he wonders if she maybe would prefer to go with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
This funny bit.
And then he has this wish of having better hair, maybe a bit more like the hair of one of his classmates.
Yeah, so obviously a great opportunity to use a subjunctive.
Yes. And he would like to be a better dancer.
Indeed. And then the following day, I think there's a plan to discuss family holidays.
Yes. And Matthias hopes that they would be going to the campsite in Italy. And they were there the year before. he would love to live closer to that place so that they could go more often.
And eat the ice cream.
Eat the ice cream, yes.
But he has to stop writing now because it's dinner time. And I hope, afterwards, after dinner, he's hoping to be able to watch the TV series that he's been watching. But I think his mother has other ideas.
Yes, so his mother would like him to do some homework, which then leads him to say that he wishes school was over.
Yeah, if only school were over.
Yes, he doesn't know what's coming after school. That's why he wishes for this.
You'll never have more time in your life.
I know, haven't we all heard it?
That's almost it for this episode, but there is, of course, time for noch eine Kleinigkeit.
So, yeah, today we have a very brutal truth.
Okay.
Yeah, Träume sind Schäume.
Okay, so Träume are dreams.
Yes.
And what's Schäume?
Foam.
Okay, dreams are foam.
Yes, that it disappears. Yeah, because,
of course.
Foam disappears.
Yeah, it disappears after some time.
Yeah, and that your dreams... that they are not real and or not realistic and that they will disappear.
Okay, so Andrea has well and truly brought Matthias back down to earth with Träume sind Schäume. And I think before we go any further, we should leave it there.
Yes,
probably.
I think so.
I'll be dreaming about the subjunctive until next episode. Of course, you can check out our bonus materials where we go through the conversation, or in this case, the diary entry in detail. There's a video version, there's lesson notes, all sorts of materials to help you improve your German. And you can find that at coffeebreakacademy.com. For now, vielen Dank.
Vielen Dank, Mark.
Und bis zum nächsten Mal.
Bis bald.
You have been listening to a Coffee Break Languages production for the Radiolingua Network. Copyright 2022, Radiolingua Limited. Recording copyright 2022, Radiolingua Limited. All rights reserved.